And it looks like we are live. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. We'll just let, I can see more people trickling in here, which is fabulous. We'll just kind of cover a little bit of the platform housekeeping just while some people are arriving here. But yes, good morning. We're excited that you're here to learn about using supplier integrations. And I don't know if any of you were here on the first one that we did. If not, we are going to do just a little bit of a recap as we dive in here. Good morning, Marcos. Lovely to see you here. Feel free to say hello, say where you're from. I'm not sure if any of you have recently had hail where you are. I'm in Canada, so we haven't had a ton, but I was flying into Montreal this weekend and I saw a crazy storm, and it must have been just kind of over Vermont, maybe the Midwest. And I heard there was some crazy hail. So yes, north suburbs of Chicago. Okay, so that might have been the storm that I was watching then from the plane. It was very cool to watch.
There's been
But
some
yes,
big storms.
some big storms. Yes, it's been wild. I don't know if that's actually that wild, but it feels like for May, perhaps it's early. Regardless, you're probably shaping up for a busy season.
That's
And we
a
are,
weird thing, I think, having the customers that we do, because I have a different reaction to big storms sometimes.
I know,
I'm
I
like, oh,
know.
go get them. Like,
Well, we've got lots to get into today, and actually, this hail is a little bit relevant for who I am. So, I would say, just for now, if you have any questions, um, you'll see at the bottom, you can see there's the chat. There is a question tab. There's a links tab. If at any point you're like, I just need to hop off, but I actually really want to learn how to use my supplier integration better, click the links tab. There is a link to book in with our dedicated team, and it's not a long meeting. They're very helpful, and they can help you get set up. So if that happens at any point, and then questions in that question box, and we will get to them later. But we can go through. I would love to introduce myself, and we'll go through that and then we'll dive right in. So if you want to go to the next slide there, Josh. My name is Sancha, and I am the customer marketing director, actually, now of customer marketing here, which is really fabulous. I come from a roofing background. My first job out of high school was at a roofing company. And here in Canada, we actually get, where I live in Calgary, we get some devastating hailstorms. And so the reason I got my job was because the company that I ended up working for had 75 new claims a day that were coming in, and they needed someone to help manage those. And that has kind of sparked this whole career, which has led me to the construction tech space. And so I can relate to the pain and excitement of a hailstorm for sure. And so, yes, it's really fun to be here talking to you guys today. And I'm here with Josh, who's one of our product managers.
yeah. So Josh Martinez, I've been with JobNimbus now about 4.5 years. Kind of done lots of different positions here at JobNimbus, including customer experience, kind of helping customers directly, helping with training, and now for the last couple of years, I've been in product. So I work a lot with customers, understanding how they're using JobNimbus, what the pain points are, and basically I work with my team to try to solve the pain points in your business and how you're using JobNimbus, but overall, how can we make your jobs easier is a constant question we're asking ourselves. So, and I'm specifically over the supplier integrations. So I've been helping with the recent ABC launch, but also very close with QXO and SRS as well. So leads us right into why the supplier integrations. First off, the supplier integrations that we have, because I think there was a question already, is we have the three biggest roofing suppliers that we currently integrate with. So that includes Beacon and or QXO that they just had that acquisition. We have SRS, and then the most recent one is ABC Supply. So those are the suppliers that we currently integrate with. Longer term, we'd love more. Why do we do this? Really, it takes a lot of that guesswork out of pricing. Especially when we kind of live in environments like we recently have seen, where prices tend to update a lot. It becomes really hard to track down what is the price, how much am I actually going to spend on this job realistically, and what am I going to make? So ultimately, to have your better idea of what your margins are, it's important to have that live pricing from the supplier. So that's one of the big reasons why you'd want this, especially for estimating. So it gives you faster, more accurate estimates. And then you can do everything from one spot. So instead of having to go somewhere else or email somebody or something like that, you can get the pricing and availability and actually place the order directly from JobNimbus. You don't have to mess with any other softwares. It's all in one spot. Documentation's all in one spot. So really important. Go ahead.
We're just gonna, today we want this to be super practical for you. We know sometimes, I think everybody approaches learning software and tech in different ways. Some people really like to talk to somebody. Some people would very much prefer to do it themselves and figure it out and not talk to anybody. So we want to make sure you have both options available. So like I said, I popped it in the chat, but also links below. If you're just saying like, hey, I don't want to take the time to learn this myself. I just want to talk to somebody, have them get into my account and do it with me. Great. We have a team for that. But we also want to walk through today what this looks like. So like how you can apply this real-time pricing to estimates. We have our sales experience built into JobNimbus, which is a really wonderful, powerful key part to using some of the other features that we have, like our integrations with suppliers and payments, things like that. But also we want you to learn how to turn estimates into those material orders. And that's really what we want to dive into today. And then at the end, yes, happy to answer any questions that you have that come up at all. And we might even ask some things of you in terms of like what specific help you might need, so we can make sure that we point you to the right people in the right places to make sure that you can get rolling as these hailstorms roll through and your season inevitably gets very busy. So Josh, why don't you dive into it?
Yes. So just to kind of walk through visually a little bit here, what's happening. So once you connect your supplier, that's going to have automatic pricing updates and availability updates directly to estimates and material orders. That's where you'll see that live pricing. And we'll walk through what that will actually look like. But that means you can get that live pricing on an estimate. You can then convert that over to a material order. From there, you're just adding really delivery instructions, maybe selecting some colors and submitting that order. Once it goes to the supplier, it works just as if you called them up. And it still goes to your rep. They can still look at it. They can still call out things that are off. They'll call you. That's all three of those suppliers work really the same way, where it goes right to the rep, right to the branch, where they can update things and do that in real time and communicate with you as well. But what it does it takes out that guesswork from them. They don't have to re-enter in what you emailed them, which avoids also some errors. So it makes it faster and easier for them, which makes it faster and easier for you. So it goes right to the supplier that way.
And this is fun for us. So this is somebody who is actively using the ABC integration in tandem with our sales experience. And I think this quote just summarizes tech in general, which I love, is that we really like it. And it just takes a little work up front, which it's that learning curve. But once you've got it built, it works great. It's so slick. I love that. I can take anybody off the street and have them selling on their own within 2 weeks because of how simple this is once it's built. And I've never had that before. And so this is talking about the quoting piece with the ordering piece. But I think it speaks a lot to just the experience of learning software, is that and JobNimbus can do a lot of things, and it can customize a lot of things, and that is its power. It also means that you need to understand your own process to be able to know what you want to automate and what you want to speed up. And so we're going to talk specifically about the supplier piece today, but in general, if there are things that even on this call you hear us talking about and you say, hey, I actually would like help to do this thing, or I need to learn this so that things can roll and be automated and I don't have to think about them and they're happening in the background, please let us know. But obviously we're here to talk about ordering and the supplier integrations today. So Josh, I think you're going to demo this. I think we're going to see this in action.
Yes. So let me stop sharing this screen and I'll switch to my job.
And we will get to questions at the end. I've seen a couple in the question box. So we
Yes.
will definitely get there as well.
Yeah, and I can, I see one of the questions as I'm switching screens here is about the different suppliers. We longer term would love to be able to do lots of other suppliers. Right now we just have the three. So they get the three big ones, so ABC, QXO, and SRS. And then longer term we would like to, and we're looking at different ways to do that because there's lots of different regional suppliers. But right now there's not anything in the works for for those.
Well,
So
Josh, really quickly, I was just
yeah,
going to say if there is a supplier that you're using that you would be interested, like, again, this is, we can't promise anything on this webinar, but one of the things here at JobNimbus that we really try to do, and we spend a lot of time doing, is talking to customers to better understand what your needs are. So if there is, I would actually be curious if there's a supplier that you're using that isn't one of the big three. Josh, are you comfortable if we have them
good.
drop them in the chat? We'd love to know. We'd love to know. I saw a couple in the question boxes,
Some I
but
recognize and some I don't. So there's definitely
yeah,
ones that I hear about more often than others. So
yeah. So
yeah,
drop those in if you have them, and then Josh can keep going on with his demo. But what we do with this information is then we have this available to us to share with our team. So we appreciate it if it comes up. So sorry for interrupting, Josh. Go ahead.
no, I love it. All right, so I just want to kind of briefly go into how to connect. So if you missed our previous webinar, I just want to run through this really quick. So first off, if you want to connect to like ABC, which is our newest one, you're going to come to your settings screen, and down at integrations, you're going to see suppliers. And that'll take you to a screen that'll allow you to then hit connect to ABC. All you'll have to do to connect is, if you're an admin, you'll just be able to sign in to ABC like normal, and it'll bring you to a screen like this. So from here, I have on my test account here, I have 3 JobNimbus locations, which is why you see these, and I can connect those to different branches if I wanted to. In this case, I have the same account and it's all up here. So, and then you have the different suppliers on here as well. So I'll probably use mainly ABC since it's our newer one, but all of this, the integrations work very similar. So once you're here, you can actually come over and you can import templates right here. What that'll do is it'll also bring over templates from the supplier ordering platforms, and it'll bring those order templates that you already have into JobNimbus as both an estimate template and a material order template, which will just save you time on setup. So hopefully this makes it easier as for those of you who are still working to get over to this new estimating system. And then another like pro tip is I would actually have the supplier do it for you if you don't have templates, if you're not actively using them. I don't know a sales rep who's ever declined building out a typical ordering template. Have them build it, and then you import it over to JobNimbus, and then you have templates that with products that you know you're going to use. So let me navigate to a job. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this up a little bit. It's out of order. I'm going to actually show a material order first and what it looks like on a material order before we switch over to the estimate. Material order just focuses on just the supplier part of this, so it'll focus us a little bit more, and I can call out things there. But then I'll go to an estimate and we'll kind of convert it. So it's a little bit of a backwards flow, but it'll just be a little bit clearer on how some of this works. So I'm going to navigate to a job. I do have kind of a newer experience that might look a little different for you, so don't be thrown off too much here. Something else that we're kind of playing around with. So great. So I'm on a job, just to be clear where I'm at. And over here on the side, I'm on the financials tab, but that looks similar to even our older experience if you're not used to that either. So you just go to financials. You can see this all looks pretty similar to anything we've had. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a material order. And as I do that, right here off to the left, I can see which supplier, and I have all 3, so I can see those 3 right here. I'm going to switch over to ABC Supply. You can see it immediately put in the branch and job account that I use and that I set up in settings. So this is kind of what it'll default to. But if I needed to switch to another branch, I have all the branches available to me right here. And then I can actually come over here to material order template. And these are the templates that I actually imported from my ABC account. And to be honest, I did a lot of test ones. So let me see if there's some good materials on there. All right, so great. I applied that. You can see that the materials dropped right in and has the quantities on here as well. Let me do a little refresh here. So like I said, we're just going to come over here. I'm going to hit ABC Supply. And now we can, I'll just do this one, simple one. All right, so now I just added that material order template, and here we go. You can see immediately the cost came over. It is going to bring over the net cost here. So I can also switch the unit of measure if I wanted to, if there's options for me there. And I can come over here and I can select options if there are any. So pretty straightforward. You'll see kind of the two line here. And let me show you, I'll find one that's maybe more clear. So this one you can see I have different colors. So I have just right here, certainteed, and I can switch out the color if I want that white. And you can see it actually updates the price. And if I wanted to do it by a different unit of measure, I can also do that. I also get little call outs here of if the product's not available at the branch. This is branch specific. So if that branch doesn't sell something, it'll call it out for you. And that would change depending on the branch that you have selected up at the top. So there is a little bit of, there sometimes is some coordination with the branch. I think somebody called it out in the chat too, that ABC just recently switched their software. And so I have seen it on, as a lot of the branches just switched and they're getting used to some stuff where maybe the prices hasn't been updated. And ABC, as they get that fixed, whatever they have in their system is what we're going to see on JobNimbus' site. So that includes availability and that could include pricing. It generally has been coming in well, but I've heard of a branch or two that's been off. So totally easy to coordinate with ABC on that too. But
And I think it's worth noting too that sometimes we are at the not the mercy, but of another of our suppliers' technology as well. And
right.
so it is occasionally, depending on the nature of the integration, there have been scenarios where the supplier has logged with their process logged everyone out. And that's, something that's out of our control. And we try to, give you a heads up and let you know. So we're pulling as truthfully as we can from them. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And so right here, what you can also do is we have their whole catalog available to us. So right now I'm using this one is Maitland, Florida, but I'm going to add a product. And I can come in here and I can start typing in GIF, which I have a ton of GIF on here. And what's going to immediately appear is what's already in JobNimbus. Let's say that I have something that these aren't the products that I'm looking for. I can also come here and I can search branch catalog for GIF. So now what it's going to do is it's going to search all the products that they have for GIF at this branch, whether or not it's in JobNimbus or not. So then I can really get in depth and I can search by SKU or item number, or I could search by just its name. And that'll just allow me to kind of figure out which product I actually want to bring over. So great, I want these architectural shingles. And if I already have it in JobNimbus, it just adds it as the line item right here. And you can tell this is not color specific. So these are architectural shingles, but then I can also switch and I could do the different ones here. So I could do weathered timber and I can add in the colors as well. So, or I could switch just to bundle and you can watch that price update right there too. So it's very responsive and you can kind of see, and then you're just going to add in the products that you want. If you want to add something that's not already on the template, once again, I'd get the supplier sales rep to build out a template for you, import that into JobNimbus. It should give you a bunch of the materials that you actually use, but don't worry about it. You can always build out new templates here in JobNimbus. You do not need templates to get this started. That's just a great way to kick off. So now I'm ready to place this order. We say that we're all ready to go. I can add the shipping method. I can pick it up. I can do ground drop or I can do roof load. For certain suppliers, it is dependent on the branch, so you'll see what's available. And then I can pick the dates that I'm looking for, kind of timeline, and I can also even just write a note like, hey, this is a test order. And that goes directly to the supplier. And then from there, really, it's as simple as, here, I'm going to delete this guy because this is a test order. I'll make it small because this will go to a branch. And I'll place the order. And then it's going to go right now, like we were talking about before. It grabs all this information, and now it's going to send it out to the supplier. And what you'll get right off the bat is you'll get this PDF, which is for your site. This isn't what the supplier sees necessarily. The supplier is going to see the note, and you'll actually see that order go through. Once it goes through, you'll get the confirmation email directly from the supplier, like you would if you placed it through their platform. So that's material ordering. And as I said, I mentioned material ordering because it's pretty straightforward. It is just the materials. You're selecting a couple options. Estimating, we have to give you more flexibility because you're going to need additional items like labor, and you're going to want to really worry about margins and all these other things. So there's more to it, and it still makes it easier to have the supplier because you have the template already ready to go. So let me go back to this job. And I'm going to create an estimate. And there's a couple things that I'll call out as we kind of come into an estimate that are slightly different from a material order. On a material order, you have to, let me play these. On a material order, you have to select a color option, for example, and you have to select the very specific details of a product before submitting it to the supplier, which makes sense. On an estimate, we didn't want to force you into selecting colors just on the estimate. So you do not have to. So let me just kind of walk through what that will look like. So this is for beacons specifically, or they're now known as QXO. You can see I have some products here that they're just on my template here. But I could also go to use template, and you can see here's my other templates that I've imported. I have a lot for QXO, so there's a very long list here. But you can see you can tell which ones, and I can switch out suppliers if I wanted to do that as well. If I have color options, or here's another option for the shingles. So if I ever wanted to change color, this is where it looks a little bit different. And you can select these on templates, but you also don't have to select color. So if I come here and I open this little drawer here, you can see right over here, there's product options. So this is a big call out because right here, and this is if I wanted to select the color of this, I can do that on an estimate, or I can leave this blank. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the cost of all of we're going to take the median cost of all of these options, and that's what we're going to be giving as the product cost, which most of the time, if it's color, that's an accurate price. So I can save that. There are other times where you'd want them selected, where maybe it's a size difference. So if there's a different size, that could impact the price, and so the price could be a little bit off of what you would be expecting. So if I come here, you can see if there's options. Beacon doesn't usually give a lot of options, but you can also see these right here. So you just come in, you can select the specifics that you have. Like I said, you can actually have that already set up on your template, so your guys out in the field never have to even worry about options. That would be the ideal scenario. But whatever I select here is what's going to get transferred over to a material order later. So if you selected it, great. If you don't, you have to select it on the material order side. And I'll show you that conversion in just a moment as well. But what's different here is I can also add in my labor items. So great. This is, wow, that's a very big roof. I don't know why I came in as a quantity. Okay. It's a 2,000 square roof. Okay. But great. I said I can put in my labor. Notice that this is not a supplier option, and that's totally fine. On an estimate, you still need to be able to add in these different line items, and you can do that. Absolutely. When you convert that over to a material order, it'll just ask you to remove those specific items that are not linked to the supplier, because we can't send those obviously to the supplier. But you can kind of tell the difference here. So you can see the beacon logo, and then there's nothing here. So you can tell which products are connected to the supplier, because this one has that logo, meaning that this cost is coming in from the supplier themselves. So just kind of a call out. And same when I'm like searching for an item. So let's kind of do the similar test. I did GAF. You can see right off the bat, my options come up, and I can tell, hey, these are all supplier items. They have that logo right next to them. If you have anything that's not, that maybe, like here's GAF Woodland Shingles, this is not a supplier item. And you can tell it doesn't have that. So just as a call out, when you're building these out and you're wanting it connected to the supplier, you want to be able to see that logo right next to it. But you also have the same capabilities as a material order, where if there's an item that we don't have in JobNimbus today, or if you just want to go straight to the search, you can go straight to searching that supplier, that branch catalog, and look for whatever item that you want to grab right there. Also, kind of pro tip as you're using this new sales experience is you can also add in a section. So what I see a lot of our customers do is they'll come in here and they'll do this little down arrow, and they will add from a template, a section that they're adding from a template. And now I have these different beacon templates that are here. So if I wanted to add a section that's materials, I can just throw this in. So I'm just guessing. I don't know which ones are really good templates or not. But here we go. And I'll explain that little error that came up now too. That's a great example. So what I'll see a lot of customers do is they'll come in here and maybe they have like wording up top that's more like scope of work that's more descriptive for homeowners view. And then they'll add in the specific section underneath it. They'll hide. This is now a hidden section. And then they'll add in the specific materials because a homeowner doesn't care what size nails you're using. So just as kind of a pro tip when you're kind of building these out, those are things that you can do. Now, what happens sometimes is we will come back and we'll have a product that will say, this is not offered at the branch. So if it's not offered at the branch, generally those branches are sending us 0 or not available. So we can't put in a price. We will still let you use that. We don't want to interrupt anything on the estimate side. That's something that you could worry about if you wanted to on production, but we're going to call it out like, hey, we're not getting a price. The last price you used for this was this. So we'll throw in what we know, but it's not going to be that live updated price. So just as it's like a call out when you're building that out. And you can see that I also don't have options because we only get that back if it's available from the supplier. So it's kind of up to you at that point if you want to actually use that, if you want to find a substitute for it or any of those, but you can use it. It's not going to stop you from doing the estimate. We're trying to make this as quick and easy for you to get that signature on the job. And then some of those things, we can worry about those details when it comes to the material order. So that is the estimate side of things. You can also see this on the authorization page. So you will also see like at the top, if you're adding in additional items, you can add items that are specific from the supplier. So you can start typing those in and it's going to give me the same thing. So if we're doing, whatever we wanted here, and you're going to get that price. Of course, I grab one that's not available. That's the count. I use branches from all over the place. So my products are kind of from all over. But those are kind of the biggest call outs. You can use them in different places. You'll be able to see because you'll see the supplier that you're connected to right here. And if you noticed when I came here, it didn't ask me about branch or any of those. We're trying to leave those options as like the default of what you put into settings. But if you do ever need to change a branch, totally available to do so. You're going to actually do update supplier. And this is where you could update to, if you wanted to switch suppliers or if you wanted to switch to a different branch. I think somebody just signed me out of Beacon. So you can do that all right here. So you can get those right here. So if I come back, I'm not going to save that one, but I have one that's already approved. Once you've sent it to the homeowner, I'm going to come over here to financials, not work orders. There we go. You can see I have one that's already approved. It's a big job. Okay, I have this fully approved one. So that means that I've already sent it. Once it's signed and approved, that's when you'll see the option here of convert to, and then I can convert to material order. And so that's just going to pull over all those line items that we had on that estimate and bring them over. If I've selected the options, those are going to be selected for me. And if I didn't, I'm going to be forced to do that right here before I actually submit this order. So here I didn't select the color. Now I have the item. Now I can have the option to come in here and actually select those. You can see there's a couple here. And there we go. So now this is like, honestly, I selected 2 options and now I'm just going to do this and I can submit the order. So very straightforward and easy to kind of run through. So if you're doing on an estimate, you're already adding those line items there. You don't need to redo everything on material order. You're just going to hit the convert to, you have this, you're going to do some details and then submit it to the supplier directly. Saves you time and makes that really quick and easy for you. So that's really the supplier integrations. You'll see them, you'll get your templates and you'll see these on both estimates and on material orders. That's where you're going to get that live up-to-date cost so that you can kind of keep track and you don't have to worry about updating them all the time. So big piece there. SRS and other things that we're working on right now is actually making it so that when you go to documents, what we're going to start doing is, this is live for SRS, but it's not for the other 2, but longer term, this is what we want. We're going to be importing the proof of delivery photos. If you order through JobNimbus, those photos will just come right into JobNimbus and it'll be right there on the job for you. Same with that final invoice. We know that some things change after you've submitted the order. So that you have all that on the record, we'll import that invoice directly into documents on the job so that you can also see that real cost. So those are things that we're working towards right now. But this integration, all three of these integrations are up and ready to go. So you can start jumping in. You can use all three or whichever ones that you guys are using.
I actually just at the bottom popped a couple of polls. You can see there's the chat, there's the questions, there's the polls. Just because I think also with our acquisition of SumoQuote, late 2023, or we launched it early or last year, which is actually where I come from. I come from SumoQuote and then got to be a part of the JobNimbus team, and it's been amazing. But there have been some changes in the estimating experience. And so I actually have a poll there we're just curious. Are you using the sales experience right now to quote and to create estimates and send them and get them signed? And then also, are you currently using supplier integrations? We can go through and answer some questions here, but before that, I just wanted to say in the chat, if you're in here and you're like, yes, I need help. Just like I've seen this, I've walked it through. I can see how it would be, but I just like I need a meeting. Like I just need someone to walk me through it. Either click that link and book it, or just raise your hand and say, me. I need a meeting. I just need a meeting, and we'll make sure that we get that set up for you. But Josh, we do have some questions. Some are in the chat, some are in the question box. Do you just want to? We can just fly through them really quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So in the chat here, for Beacon, it won't allow me to connect it because it's asking for an email address. Is this the login issue that we've run into before? Can you see that in the chat there?
No, I didn't see that one in the chat, so that's fine. So for Beacon won't allow me to connect.
Log in with our account number.
It does require that you have a QXO login. So like you do need to log in. So if you don't have that set up, it would, but that's part of just the login. So you would need an email that has a login already for you. So anyway, if there's more details, I can see you typing, so I'll let you answer.
Yeah.
It would require the email.
The lump sum, we can move over to the questions here in a second, but just in the chat, does this allow for lump sum pricing for the homeowner, not line items? That is in the chat.
It is going to be line item specific, lump sum pricing. So now what I will specify is that this is your pricing. So if you've worked out with a supplier, what they'll usually do is give you another job account. So you might change the job account to get different lump sum pricing, but it's still going to be like entered in as line items specifically, because that is how it's going to end up at the supplier. But if they've worked out a deal with you, you would still have access to that deal, even within JobNimbus as well.
Yes, we will be. One of the questions was, will we be sending out a recording? We will. Absolutely. We download this and upload it and send you a link. So yes, we definitely will. We want you to be able to do that. What is the best way to include tax in your material estimates? Is that, do you want me to point to a resource, or do you want to answer that here?
I'm just going to. There is a place. So if you're using QuickBooks, the tax will come in from QuickBooks, and then that can be applied to the estimate. So every time you're adding in a line item, which for materials, this would almost never be the case, but you can mark any line item as tax exempt. So those are the ones that you wouldn't want that to be applied to, but it's going to apply the tax on the estimate level. So you'll see towards like where it shows like a subtotal on that quote details, it'll say there's a tax toggle, and you can just switch to the tax that you're wanting for that estimate. So that's
I've got, can these templates and orders be auto-built with connecting an Eagle View measurement or similar to it? So it has live pricing with self-built orders.
So right now that is currently available on the estimate site. So if you're using estimates, yes, there's going to be some more setup for that. So what we have today, it's called calculations, and that one might be easier to show. So let me share my screen just real quick, because I do think that it's something that we want to add directly to material orders. I just don't have a good time frame for that. But let me come in here and share again.
And I will say, we do have some really great, we've hosted kind of workshops similar to this that are very specific to calculations. And I will say that if you are quoting and using the sales experience for that, calculations are a key part of it. That I would say is the learning curve of the sales experience. Once you have that dialed, it's like chef's kiss. But we have some resources for that. So if that's you and you're kind of in that spot where you'd like to use the sales experience more effectively, but you're feeling like you're being held up by this, can you just say like, like sales experience in the chat, and I will make sure to get you that resource, because that is a big piece of doing all of this really, really well. So just put sales experience and we'll make sure that you get that. Go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
Yes, and that's ultimately what this is, and that's just going to be a better resource to look at your own. But each of these line items, you can add in what's called a product calculation. So now if I add this, I can come into product calculation and, hey, these are shingles. So I'm basically going to say, hey, for how many squares, I'm going to say that that's times 3. So now whenever I have 10 squares that come in, it's going to give me that result of 30 as the quantity that I should be ordering. So, I mean, you probably want to factor in like waste factor and other things too. But essentially what you're doing is you're going to say what this Excel formula is, and then that's what's going to be populated through the measurements that you're importing. So that could be Eagle View, hovers, those are the direct integrations, or even if you're manually putting in the measurements, this is going to pull that on so that you can get that. So absolutely.
We have a cheat sheet for this as well that I can make sure, if for those of you who've put this in here, I'll point you to a resource, and also we have a cheat sheet just specific to calculations, because it feels like intimidating, but it's not. But it is just the thing to wrap your head around, and then it sets up so much for success. So we really want to make sure you feel equipped to do that. We have time probably just for a couple more questions here.
This is the tax rate. I'll just throw this out. If you have more than one, you can do that, but there's that tax rate. That's what you'd be adding onto the estimate.
Josh, why don't you if you can just pop and take a look at the questions and just see what you're able to answer pretty quickly here, so we don't take up too much more time.
So, Michaela, I see that when you put in ABC, if you signed in and you're seeing disabled, that's fine. If you click that, it's just you'll see the option to switch accounts. You can technically add more than one ABC account, which is why it starts disabled. Even if you just put in the one, that's fine. It'll ask you which location should be using which account. So just switch it. It's just toggling it on. But it's not broken. That's the way it should be. So you're in a good spot. Okay. Am I able to section search groups on my own, like shingles, under which I would only let appear the linked supplier items and fit that category? Spencer, I'm not sure I'm following your question here. So now you can add as a section, you can add the template. So that's kind of sounds like it's similar to what you're saying, but I don't think I'm fully answering your question. So, but I'm happy to follow up if we need something in there.
Yeah, we can, this is the beauty of having Josh on this call, is that you have access to him, which is so fun. And yeah, we would love to make sure that your question is answered. So yeah, actually, let me just, I can take this as a to-do.
Okay. Allison, this is a great question. If you can add photos to submit the order. Right now, the suppliers themselves won't accept that yet. But that is something that we've heard more often. So it's something that we're looking to find, like, is there some kind of workaround that we can do? Because for the exact reason that you're asking of whether or not you can send in a picture of where the material should be dropped. I've heard that a couple times. So it's something that we're looking at. Today, the suppliers, just through their software, can accept a photo. So it's still a limitation, but that's where we would like to go. Today, it's more of like you'd be adding that supplier note, and that's what you'd be saying. So it'd be verbal, not a visual. Molly McClure, if sometimes some of our accounts do have an assigned account manager, and so they'd be the ones to kind of do the training. If you want,
I did actually just look up your account, and I'm going to reach out and point you in the right direction.
Okay,
I
great.
just took a look, so we'll take care of you. Yeah.
Yep. And then Casey Jonko, if you're still on, you were asking about ABC as our main supplier, so we're excited to have this. We found that each branch with them is different. The live pricing, due to their old school tech, they did have old school tech. They built it themselves, and they just moved off of it. So that's kind of why I called it out specific to ABC. I've heard more just in this transition that ABC has done that some branches haven't. There was one in Colorado that was really just like refusing, because I had like 4 customers reaching out to us about like, hey, my prices are off, and it was the supplier themselves. So there is sometimes it comes back to the branch to make sure that they have what's in the system correct. So will reflect what the branch is giving us, essentially. So if the pricing still seems off to you, a lot of times I would actually send you to ABC support. They probably get it done faster than even your branch. And it's just customer support at abcsupply.com. And they could also make sure that you have the right branches, right account, and the right pricing.
Yeah, amazing. I think
Not all the questions that we had come in.
I think so. Yes. Okay. So this is where after these are over, I get to take them and I get to go through the chat and the questions and make sure that all of you who I've said, I'm going to point you in the right direction. I point you in the right direction. I will be sending out a recording as well with that link if you change your mind and decide, okay, I do want to book in and just have someone have a quick chat. It's not a long chat with our dedicated supplier team. It's very much just getting you caught up and rolling for the season. So, Josh, thank you so much for taking the time to share all of this. And thanks to all of you for joining. This is something that we care about. We want to make sure that you're just ready to go. I know we're in the season. I was going to say for the season. We're in the season, but that it can be a really good one. Yeah. So
I will call out just that same quote. The guy that was saying that it was easier to get his sales guys on. Something else that he mentioned, because he did get the sales experience. He got the measurements and ABC all set up, and he was mentioning that he's already been, like, if he's looking year over year, his sales have almost doubled. So it is like worth the time to make sure that this is set up, because it honestly saves your guys time and allows you guys to focus your attention on getting the leads and growing your business as opposed to just getting things done. So
it was really cool, actually, when we were pulling some data at Sumo Quote. We were looking at the average job size, just industry wide. And the average job size of contractors using Sumo Quote, and it was a couple $1,000s more per job, just because of offering optional upgrades and good, better, best, and kind of the psychology behind pricing that way. But then additionally, because of the nature of the quote and the experience that it provides for the homeowner, the quote, but also, I mean, that feeds into that work order and the material order piece where you're delivering accurate deliveries and able to start the job on time. All of that tied in, contractors were able to do half the work to hit the same revenue goal because job closing rates were going up, job sizes were going up. And that was really cool for us back in the earlier days to see that and just be like, it does work. And now we're in JobNimbus. So,
and I hear that same thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, I'm like totally just talking over you.
No.
But what I hear quite a bit over and over again is that customers tell us that when they're using this new sales experience, this really beautiful proposal, that they get jobs not because they're cheaper, but the clearly more professional option that builds trust with their homeowner. So they feel more confident that regardless of price, these guys are going to get it done well because they've already presented themselves as more professional. So that's also something else of why we've seen an increase in close rate. Yeah,
we're a JobNimbus to you is a B2B motion, but we care about your B2C motion. So learning about how you do business and how we can help you do business is kind of what drives what we do. So anyways, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time. Expect an email within a day, and we'll go from here. Thank you all. Bye.